wasn't very sure of the criteria because he kept changing it. Was it one surah? Was it 10 surahs? Was it a whole Quran? Was it a recitation? But yet I still find errors, contradictions, okay, and absurdities in the Quran. I find Allah forgets what he said in one chapter to the other chapter.
All right. So when you're talking about one surah or two surahs or whatnot, that's the challenge that was reduced for the Arabs. So first the challenge was it was a bigger challenge. So produce a surah
Hmm?
produce like the whole Quran, I think it was, and then it was slowly
I
reduced.
to be honest
So
with
it was
you,
reduced.
Muhammad,
One second, one second.
I'd have to
Can I
go.
respond?
I'd
I have
have to go
to.
check the chronological order and see how it was.
Can I just respond? Finish my response.
Yeah, sure.
So each surah was when this challenge was made, slowly by slowly it was reduced, and then at the end it was said, produce a chapter like it.
Okay.
And so yeah, that should be clear in that regard. So
Okay.
if you want to make any difference.
I'm gonna double check and see what order. I don't remember the chapter, but anyway. So my question to you would be, what exactly was the criteria, and who was to be the judge?
The criteria, what
Well, whenever
producing a
you make
chapter like it,
yeah, but what does it mean a chapter like that? A chapter like what?
like the Quran.
Okay,
Can I
but
can
I
I give
know that
you?
there's many people that have done chapters like the Quran, but you guys say no, that's not like the Quran. So my question is, there was no
No,
criteria really laid off, and there was no who's going to judge Muslims.
all right.
Can I?
So you see,
Yeah.
go ahead if you want, Benny.
Yeah, just quickly, I want to give you just a piece, just a little piece of the challenge. It's not the whole challenge because it takes a lot of explanation. But Abdul, if you want to do experiment with me, just quickly, it's just a little touching the surface of the challenge, right? So you want
Okay.
to do experiment? Okay, cool. So give me 30 seconds of a powerful speech, top of your head right now. 30 seconds.
To be honest with you, I don't memorize speeches, so I don't have one.
Okay, 20 seconds. Just give me a powerful speech that makes sense, is flowing, is coherent, it
I
has
don't know any.
purpose.
I don't know any speeches, Benny. But go ahead. What's your point?
Bro, I'm trying to experience something. I'm trying to show you a little
Yeah,
bit
you
of
picked the wrong
the
guy, man.
challenge.
I suck at memorizing speeches. I used to know the
So
ones about
this
four
that's
score
one
and
of
something,
the
but I don't remember.
that's one of the miracles of the Quran, right? Is
Oh,
like
that
if
nobody can
you
do one. Okay, so
wait, let me explain that you understand, right? So
okay,
there's a difference between writing things and speaking, right? If you write things, you can have a more powerful speech because you know what you have wrote, you can correct it and everything.
yeah,
But
of
when you
course.
when you speak at top of your head, you already
Hmm.
forgot what you said 20 seconds ago, 30 seconds ago, right? So it's very hard to have a powerful speech top of your head. So the
Hmm.
thing, one of the miracles is just one of pieces that you have to see is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spoke the Quran. He didn't wrote the Quran. But when he spoke it, it seems like he was really reading from an invisible book. This is how it seems like. And to us, if you look in the real world, right, it's human impossible to speak like you're reading an invisible book on top of your head. So this is one of the, just to give you a little bit example of the challenge, but it has, of course,
Okay.
it's more complex. But so try to speak like you reading an invisible book top of your head. Try to do that. It's human impossible. So that's
Well,
one
how
of the.
can I read an invisible book if I've never read the book? So that's an asinine. That's an asinine challenge. I would have to first know the book. You want me to read an invisible book that doesn't exist that I don't know what book that is?
So that's why the
How does that work?
angel, yeah, if the angel Gabriel came to you, or
Okay,
with the
well, maybe if he came
recitation
to me
of that
and
of
he
that book that is in
recited
the,
and I
so there's a,
memorized it, yeah,
so so the Quran, the Quran is a book, right? It's in the it's in the
it's in the tablets with
Muhammad,
Allah.
yes, So when it
Yeah.
came
Okay.
down, it
So
then came down as a book. So Angel Gabriel
it came down as a
recited
book, or
the
it did. It came down as a book, or it didn't.
no, it came down as a recitation. So
So why does the
When Prophet Muhammad spoke it, it's like he's just reading an invisible book. You know what I mean? So
okay?
this one of the miracle. But Muhammad, take it over. Sorry, I'm just
So
giving you just a
so
glimpse
well, now
of
that
the
you brought it,
challenge.
so now that you brought that up, so why is it throughout the Quran it acts like Muhammad was sent down the book?
Yeah, so at the end, all of it's a book, right? So, but it came down in piecemeals. That's what it's
Yeah,
telling you.
but throughout the Quran before it was even finished, because Muhammad never had a Quran as a book. He never held
So,
it
so
between his hands.
yeah, but kitab means something that's written down. So it doesn't mean like a full. The way it's translated, it doesn't mean like a full book. It doesn't have to be a full book. Kitab is something that's written down. You can check
Ah,
the
okay.
dictionary for that.
So when the Quran is always referring to an al-Kitab, it's not referring to a full book, just partial book.
So if it's referring to the Quran, then yes, at that time it was referring to a partial book. If it was
Ah, okay,
earlier revelation.
okay. And this is why Allah is a very bad communicator. But Benny, let me get back to you, Benny.
Hold on. You just made a claim, so can I just quickly respond? So you said he's a bad communicator. You see, this is not a fundamental teaching. Allah is very clear about him being one and to follow the messenger. So these are clear statements. In between you're finding like stuff that are not that important and you're trying to say it's a bad communicator. You clearly know he revealed the Quran. That's very clear in the Quran. So why are you going to like what do you expect God to talk about things that are not important? Come on.
Well, he seems to talk a lot about things that I don't see as important, like why do I have to be told that it's okay for me to eat in my parents' house or in my house? What's the purpose of the ants? So he goes into a lot of details for these stories
Yeah,
that we know that they're stories from other sources. But I like to bring back to the one thing that I find it very interesting is the embryology that's in the Quran. Why did Allah fail in embryology?
why did he what? Just before I address that, you made two points. I don't want any of your points to go without answer. So you
Okay.
mentioned about the ant. So the ant, the story about the ant speaking and whatnot. It talks about I think they mentioned the praises of God, if I remember correctly. But I have to go revisit that story. The point is, it's showing the glory of Sulaiman in Islam, the Prophet Solomon, and how his army and stuff like that, and how he was actually merciful towards even the ants as well. So it shows different levels of mercy. So if you might not see that as relevant, but it shows the ranks of prophets. The second thing I forgot what you mentioned is something wasn't clear what you mentioned.
The and oh, the Quran telling me that it's okay for me to eat in my house.
Yeah, that's I'm not really sure what you're referring to there.
There's a verse that supposedly Allah is telling me that it's okay to eat in my house. I think it's okay to eat in my parents' house, and I just don't see the correlation as to
You might have
why.
to. I think you might have to review that because I do remember a similar story, which is got to do with the Prophet's house and how the people shouldn't just sit there
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff
a
like that. It's
different.
troubling.
Yeah, that's a different one. I don't think this one has anything to do with when the people go over to the prophet's house. No,
Okay,
this
we
is
can go to embryology because I'm not sure about that particular one. Unless you want to quote it and then I can read it.
oh, what you say. We can go into the embryology.
Yeah, unless you want to quote the house verse, like you can eat in
I
the
yeah,
house and then I can check it out.
unfortunately, I'm not on my computer and I don't have access to my notes to the one that talks about the
Yeah, that's
house.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the surah.
Are you
Can
a
someone?
Christian, by the way?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So you do have to be consistent. If you're making any arguments
No, 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 no,
against
no.
Islam, you have to be
Don't try.
consistent, right?
Don't try, Muhammad. Please don't try to turn this into an Islam versus Christianity because I'm not the guy for that. I don't. I don't allow that. I'm strictly a polemist. I deal with the Quran claims. I'm
Yeah,
really
that's
not.
fine, but I'm saying
I'm
that
really not interested in trying to prove. the Bible to you guys because I find it to be very useless. So I like to prefer to stick to the
No, what
claims of
he's
the
saying,
Quran, and if you can substantiate them,
Abdul, what he's
yes.
saying is, it, what he's saying, you need to you don't, you need to be consistent and don't have
Well,
double
I am
standards.
consistent, Benny. Here's the problem. You guys make very bold claims. I don't see Christians going around making claims about the Bible that you guys make about your Quran. So therefore, it's irrelevant to me. You guys tell
For
me that the
example,
Quran is
let me
perfect, that it has no errors, no contradictions,
no
blah
no
blah
let me
blah.
give you an
Okay.
So,
example. Let me give you
So
an
Abdul,
example.
just one second,
Benny,
Abdul. So
Benny,
you
I
Yeah.
don't,
don't want any
um,
example from the Bible
Abdul,
because it's not relevant.
Abdul. So you don't make the same claim that the Bible is without contradictions and preserved and stuff like that. You don't make the same claim. Is
Well,
that correct?
we know it's not preserved in the way that you guys say. So again,
Yeah,
it's irrelevant. You guys make claims, right? I will tell you,
that's fine.
we don't have the original manuscripts, and any Christian that tells you they do, he's lying. We don't tell you that the
Yeah.
Bible wasn't written by men. It was written by many men. It's been copied over and over because the originals were done in papyrus, and papyrus is very crappy.
But yeah,
We know that,
I
and we
appreciate
know, yeah,
the
and we know
honesty.
that there's tons of what we call textual variants. Heck, we tell you,
Yeah,
this is different from this manuscript to that manuscript. I mean, you guys have the same
yeah,
thing with your manuscripts. That to me
yeah.
is
I
not
look.
that to me is not
So
important.
Abdul, yeah, I appreciate the honesty. But the point I was trying to make earlier was, let's say if you believe let's say killing is fine, and then you're telling me that killing is bad. That's the point I'm trying to make here. That if you're following a framework and you believe it's moral at one point of time, then you shouldn't be pointing it out in our scripture because at one point of time you believe it was fine for God to do it. So I just want to make that clear. So if you're mentioning anything about embryology or anything else, just keep that in mind that
Yeah.
that might
Well,
exist within the Bible and you accept that as well.
right. There's a difference between killing and murder. I
Yeah,
mean, if you try to hurt me or kill me, I'm going to kill you. That's perfectly fine. Now, if I murder you, which means I have no reason to do it, that's different. And that is one of the commands that's in the Old Testament. Thou shalt not commit murder. And here's the funny thing. There are some Bible translations that say thou shalt not kill, which is kind of stupid because then that means you can't do anything. So if somebody was to
yeah.
attack me, then I'm supposed to let you kill me? I don't think so. And I do know that if you read the Old Testament, which is where all the killings and so forth, the Old Testament is written in a descriptive format, more of a historical book, you could say, because
Mm.
those are things that were done to certain people. I mean, it was very specific. When God says to Moses, "Go kill the Amalekites or the Canaanites," that was directed towards that particular person, or I should say, a particular group during a particular time by the Israelites. And there's usually reasons behind that. So it's also what we call a close-ended command. That means you go and kill the Amalekites, that's it. You don't continue. I find that the Quran is more prescriptive and open-ended.
No, it's actually couched in language of justification.
Well, no, because all the countries that you guys invaded, there was no justification. Like, for
No,
instance,
I'm saying like
929, there's no justifications except that
no,
the
there is
Muslims need the money.
if you read the chapter, it talks about them breaking the treaty, and
Yeah, no,
that's
yeah, yeah,
why
yeah.
the
No, no, no. Yep.
that's when they go to war, not in the letters. That's what I'm saying. You have to be if you're mentioning anything, just make sure you're precise and not
Okay,
mentioning
so
it.
so why is it in 929? If you read your Tafsir scholars like Ibn Kathir, it was actually brought down because the Muslims needed money. Because Muhammad, when he conquered Mecca, the polytheists or the mushrikeens or whatever you want to call them, they were no longer allowed to go to Mecca and do the Hajj, and that was a good business. It's still a good business today. I mean, Saudi Arabia makes billions of dollars from when you guys go there.
Yes, it's a blessing from God that He gives
Yeah.
wealth to the people.
Yeah, but the problem is with 929 is Muslims were complaining to Muhammad that he cut their income. So Allah comes with the verse 929, giving permission to fight the Jews and the Christians.
I've
Again,
already
like I said,
explained. I've already explained the situation. That's number one. Number two,
no, no,
they're
no.
living out of time. One second,
Ibn,
Abdul, 1 second.
there, there
Eh,
is
eh,
no non-Islamic source that agrees with the guy was the ambassador and all this that again. The Byzantines never did anything. The Byzantines had been fighting for 26 years the Persians. Both of them were broke. Both of them had their armies decimated. When a country doesn't have a real strong army, it doesn't go pick a fight with another country that has a strong army.
so if I showed you a source that they killed the messenger, would you accept
No,
it?
no, I know the story about the whole thing, but it was killed by the Gossip King, not the Byzantines, not the Romans.
No, it was killed by the. I think it was Romans, definitely.
No,
Let
it
me see.
wasn't the Romans. They used to, I guess you could say they were paid by the Romans to protect that certain area. But then again, all your sources are Muslim sources. There's nothing in the Roman sources. See, this is
Yeah,
the
but you're
this
quoting
is
on
a
the.
big
One
this
second.
is a
You're
this is
quoting
a
the
big
Quran, and then
yeah, but
obviously
this is a big
you're
problem
quoting
with
our sources.
yeah, but this is a big problem with Islam. You have no historical sources outside of your own sources. You have nothing to substantiate any of your claims.
Yeah, we're not
Everything,
required to have their sources.
every yeah, everything that you have comes from the 8th and 9th century on. You don't really have any sources from the 7th century, from the time of Muhammad. Like you guys believe that Abraham built the Kaaba, actually Adam built the Kaaba in Mecca. You don't have
All
a
right, so
single you don't have a
so Abdul,
single shred of archaeological evidence for Mecca existing before Islam.
so if that's the case, then why do you think this battle even took place? So why are you saying that 929 took place? Because you don't trust
No, no,
the
no, no.
reasons for it.
Whoa, whoa,
So
whoa,
why are
whoa.
you
Wait a minute.
trusting the
I've
the
never
war
said
itself
any.
happening?
I've never said any battle took place in 929. That's the problem. There was no battle. There's no battle in
Or
929.
the command itself then the
The
command itself.
Byzant, the Byzantine had nothing to do with 929. They didn't attack the Muslims. They didn't have any army. There was no battle with the book. Again, Muslims didn't attack the Byzantines until after Muhammad was dead.
Right.
So if it's true, like you guys said, that the Ghaznavids, you know, murdered his emissary, how come there was no battle? Why wait all this time? Because I think that was like in 630, just before Muhammad died. The Muslims didn't attack the Byzantines, I think, until 636. That's like 4 years after Muhammad died. So
Yeah, it
that whole
depends.
so that whole
I haven't looked at the dates, but
yeah.
I know definitely it was the cause of the battle was killing the messenger.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There was no battle. You're not gonna find any battles between the Muslims and the Romans until after like around 636. So why are you gonna wait 4 years? If truly that's the case, then you guys would have gone to war with the Byzantines right there and then.
But
There
does
was
it
no
really
battle.
matter? Does the delay really matter?
Yeah, come on, man. Nobody delays 4 years.
No, I'm saying, does that really
Well,
matter? If they show the aggression, when you retaliate, does that really matter?
so you're gonna wait 4 years after they slaughter somebody that's supposed to be your ambassador or whatever you want to call it?
Why not? Why not?
Is that
What's the?
typical?
I mean, the only argument you're making right now is that it should have just happened earlier. Why did not? Why has it happened later? So I'm like saying, so what if it happened
So
later?
tell me, have you read Ibn Kathir on 929? Do you know what Ibn Kathir says about it?
Yeah, I've read it before.
Okay, so what does it say?
You want me to quote it? I've got it right in front of me now.
Yeah, you can paraphrase it. Tell me What's his take on 929? What's the reason for 929? And then explain the
Um,
jizya. What is the jizya according to Ibn Kathir?
I'll quote him what he says. He says, Allah commands His believing servants who are pure in religion and person to expel the idolaters who are filthy in the religious sense. So they're not pure, they worship idols. From Al Masjid al Haram after the revelation of this verse 929. Idolaters were no longer allowed to go near the masjid. This ayah was revealed in the 9th of Hijri. So the 9th, about. Yeah, and then it says the Messenger of Allah sent Ali in the company of Abu Bakr that year to publicize to the idolaters that no polytheists will be allowed to perform Hajj after that year. No naked person allowed to make the circumambulate the house. So yeah, in a nutshell, like he writes a lot here. So in a nutshell, that's what happened.
No, it's not in a nutshell because you've missed all the good parts where he explains why that verse came down.
Yeah, he wrote a lot. It's like 2 pages. I'm
Yeah,
not.
you missed out the part where he says the Muslims were complaining to Muhammad that they weren't going to make money to support their families because, like I said, that was a business for them when the polytheists used to go there. They probably bought statues or idols. Sold food. Probably had the lodge. So the Muslims started complaining, and then that's when Allah in his beautiful
No,
revelation
so
decided that it's okay to fight the people of the book just because they don't believe in Allah in the last days. And then the ones that you don't kill, you take jizya from. And then Muslims like to say that jizya, oh come on, man, jizya just like you pay income tax, because I live in the United States, you pay income tax to the government, right? But then read what Ibn Kathir says. Read the Pack of Omar. You basically become like a second-class citizen. You have no rights. It's whatever the Muslims
no,
want to do to you.
the path of Umar isn't reliable to begin with. Secondly, I'm looking at the verse. It says it talks about because the policies will be kicked out of Masjid al-Haram, and it says, and if you fear poverty, Allah will enrich you. And then it says one of the persons mentioned, Ibn Ishaq, he says the people said our markets will be closed, our commerce disrupted, what we earned will be banished. So Allah revealed, and if you fear poverty, Allah will enrich you out of His bounty. And then Ibn Kathir mentions this. So like the ayah about and feel themselves subdued. This ayah means this will be your compensation for the closed markets that you fear. So we don't have a problem with jizya, obviously them using
Oh,
that
so wait a minute.
for
So you don't have a problem with because the Muslims were complaining about the loss of income, Allah gives them the okay to go fight people that hadn't fought the Muslims and to subdue them and make them pay jizya, a humiliation tax. So you don't have a
yeah,
problem with
there's no
that.
issue, there's no issue with expanding. I don't have a problem with the
Oh,
expansion if
there's
there's
no
no
issue with
treaty.
expansion, right? So
Yeah,
you agree expansion is offensive, right?
yeah, expansion is offensive. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So why do Muslims tell me that Muslims only fight when they're attacked?
Like during the Prophet's lifetime, almost all of the battles were
Nah,
defensive. But
that's not what Muslims.
let me just let me finish, bro.
That's
Let me
not what
finish
Muslims tell me.
because
You must be a good Muslim because all the Muslims that
yeah,
I talk to, they say
they
that
probably were not well informed. So some
they
of them
say
are not
that
even well informed.
the Islam teaches that you can only fight when you're attacked. Well, that's weird because if you read the Sirah, hell, if you read the Hadiths, it talks about all the times that Muslims went on a raid. Do you know what a raid is? Would you say a raid is defensive or offensive?
The raid was mainly, if you're talking about the Prophet's lifetime, the raid was mainly done against those who kicked them out of the houses and stuff. So it was done to get their wealth back. So yeah, it was.
No.
Well, I don't
There
know
was
if you can call it
no.
as a revenge in a
That's
sense.
another story that you guys make up that they stole the Muslims. Their
Wait.
the
Come on.
materials.
You have to be. Come on.
Come
Like,
on, man. So
like wasn't the Prophet?
how many times do you have to raid
Abdul,
somebody, man?
Abdul, let me just respond.
Muhammad used to raid the
Uh,
caravans. The
bro,
caravans
if I
didn't
can't
have
respond, then
the
if I
caravans
can't respond, then
didn't have anything to do with the. It wasn't the property of the Muslims, and raiding is offensive. It's not defensive. But like you said, I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with being expanding because hey, let's face it, that's how empires grew, right? They went, expanded, they conquered. Don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem with Muslims trying to tell me that the only time that Muslims fight is when they're attacked. That part I have a problem
okay.
with.
Abdul, was the Prophet kicked out of Mecca? Yes or no?
Sorry.
Was the
Yeah,
Prophet
it was
was the
well.
Prophet kicked out,
That's no, I don't know because that's the story you guys tell me that after 12 years he was kicked out.
bro?
I mean, I'm
I mean,
surprised.
come on, come on.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised the pagans lasted 12 years having to listen to Muhammad make fun of their idols. I mean, I would have kicked them out much earlier.
All right. So if someone
And
kicks
notice
you out of
that
your houses, can you not raid
Muhammad,
them?
but notice that Muhammad's message was really so bad that after 12 years he had what a few followers. But it's funny when he goes to Mecca, then he starts raiding all his caravans and starts building up his little army. That's when all the verses start becoming not so good verses. The Medina verses, the Mecca verses are
Mm,
lovely. To you your
So
religion, to me my religion, no compulsion in religion. He goes to
so
Medina, gets
Abdul,
an army. Then all of a sudden he's like Mr. Warlord.
all right. So Abdul, can you tell me why in the Old Testament there's a warlord kind of verses in the scripture, such as kill the women, kill the children, kill the men,
I already told you
sleep the little
that's
girls?
yeah. I mean, the Old Testament does tell Moses to go out and kill the I don't know if it's the Amalekites or whatever. Yeah, and the backstory is for about 300-400 years these people have been abusing the Israelites. They were with their kids, and God got fed up and told Moses go and take care of them.
So let's be consistent then. So if God can command that, then the messenger of God can also do that in the with the permission of God. So
Yeah, but
let's
your
be
God says
consistent.
go and fight anybody. the command that Allah gave to Muhammad was go and fight everybody until they accept in Muhammad. That's an open command that can only be finished when everybody's Muslim or everybody is a dhimmi. Moses' command was for a specific group at a specific time. It wasn't for all times. Muhammad's command is for all times. I mean, Muhammad wasn't the command to Muhammad, according to the hadiths. It wasn't go fight the people who fight you. No, it was strictly to fight based on religious belief. You don't believe in Allah, you don't believe in Muhammad, go and fight them. I mean, have you seen Jesus in the Bible saying, "Hey, man, go and fight the people until they believe in me, and pay jizya if they don't want to believe in me"?
You said the verse says everybody, but it don't say everybody. Can you show me why it says everybody?
It says until all believe in Allah. What's all?
Yeah, but it's talking about the armies going to invade.
No, it's not talking about the armies. Come on, man. Don't play this game with me. So
contextualize, my friend.
Either your Allah is a poor communicator, okay? Because anybody who reads that command to Muhammad comes out with the impression that Muslims are supposed to fight solely on the reason that we don't believe in Allah and we don't believe in Muhammad being a prophet. Hell, I'm still killed even if I believe in Allah, but I decide I don't believe in Muhammad.
Because so if that's the case, why was permission even given? So they should have been allowed to do that. And why does God say that don't transgress? So what does that even mean? Don't transgress.
Well, that's the beauty of Islam. You guys, Allah contradicts himself. Allah contradicts himself.
Nice try. But anyhow, I'll leave you to it. It was an interesting conversation.
Let's go back to the Quran being man-made. Explain to me why Allah failed biology in your Quran.
All right, so you didn't fail in anything. So I'm just going to mention one thing, and I'll leave you to it after that.
Chapter 96, verse 2. Allah says we're created from a clot.
Yeah,
your scholars say a congealed blood clot.
Yeah, so the embryo looks like a congealed
blood. Excuse me, we're not talking about the embryo. First of all, I don't believe you've even taken a class in biology. It says you're created from a clot. An embryo is not a clot, never been a clot, never was a clot. Sperm and egg, neither one is a clot.
All right, does it look like a clot? Yes or no?
The Quran doesn't say that you look like a clot.
I'm asking you a question.
It doesn't look like a clot. The Quran Allah creates you from a clot. Doesn't say
so
that you look like a clot.
Okay, I've heard you. So I want you to go look at an image of embryo and look at it, and it looks like a clot. And so one second.
Don't play this game.
Let me finish. There's no point discussing phenomena.
What does the verse say, Muhammad? Be honest. The verse says you are created from a clot.
Are you gonna let me finish?
Yeah, as soon as you stop playing the games and the embryo looks like a clot. It's not a clot. The embryo could look like an elephant. It's not an elephant. So my question is,
the word alaq, I know exactly what you're referring to. So the word alaq, it has
now it's a leech, right? So Allah's going to say that you and I were created from a leech, right?
Are you going to let me finish?
Tell me what the word create means.
I'm going to explain it one time. You should let me finish.
Oh,
otherwise,
no,
no point discussing
man. You still alive? You didn't get the monkeypox or the corona? Go ahead, Muhammad. I want you to explain to me if the verse doesn't say Allah creates you from a clot.
All right. So it says the verse says.
Careful. He might threaten to fuck your eye.
Hold on, Sam.
Okay. All right. So the word alaq has multiple meanings. One of the meaning is clinging, something that clings or hangs. Alaq. If you heard, one second, bro, I haven't finished. Wait.
Allah says you're created from a clinging. Look,
leave this. I'm going.
I'm a lawyer when I come to this stuff, man. You say something stupid.